Ranked choice voting. 2021 is the year that instead of having to vote for just one candidate, you can now choose up to 5. We'll be discussing this in this program and the many positions you'll be voting for this year, many more than just mayor and city council. What you must know about ranked choice. In a moment, I'll be joined by 2 persons who will explain this. Also in this program, Raymond Trapp, a musician that many Brooklyn residents enjoy listening to, will be talking about what many refer to as his phenomenal talents and the inspiration he provides. First, ranked choice voting. Let me welcome my guest, Debbie Lewis from Rank the Vote NYC. Welcome to Brooklyn 45.
Thank you.
And Valerie Vazquez-Diaz from the Board of Elections, the New York City Board of Elections. Welcome to Brooklyn 45.
Thank you for having me.
My first question is a question that's on the lips of so many people. What is this ranked choice voting? Debbie, let me throw this at you since you've got that big logo on your right.
Sure. So ranked choice voting is our new electoral process for special and primary elections, where you can rank up to 5 candidates for public advocate, mayor, borough president, comptroller, and city council. And instead of just voting for one person now, you can rank up to 5, as many or as few as you would like. This is just our new process. Folks can still use the old way of voting, but it's very beneficial to use your rankings this year.
How beneficial is that?
Well, before we only could vote for one person. And if that one person did not win, we were very sour about it. And now we have the option to use additional rankings, whereas if that one candidate does not win, we still have a say in who's elected. And what's so important here is that we now have a say in the final winner. And before it was just either A or B. And so I'm really happy about that.
Valerie, I see you're rearing to get in on this conversation. So go on.
So, yeah, I mean, echoing what Debbie said, we at the Board of Elections are excited. We are here to implement the choice of the voters. Ultimately, this was something that was on the 2019 ballot, and over 73% of New York City voters opted for ranked choice voting. So this is the first time we're doing it citywide, but we at the Board of Elections have done a total of 4 special elections over the past 2 months using ranked choice voting. So we're excited to bring this to the voters, and we've been focused on implementing and educating the voters of this new process.
Who actually made the decision that there should be ranked choice voting?
Well, I don't think it was someone that made a decision. The voters made a decision collectively. But the first bill was presented in 2009 by former city council member Gail Brewer. And so the Charter Revision Commission from 2010 through 2018 heard from experts, accepted testimonies on a wide variety of issues. And then they finally presented ranked choice voting to voters in 2019. And the voters, over 73% of them, voted yes to have RCV.
How secure is ranked choice voting?
So the process, ranked choice voting is as secure as all elections in the city of New York are. The process for us at the Board of Elections, we're still using the same scanners. So voters will go into their early voting or election day sites as they normally would. We encourage all voters to please visit vote.nyc so they can put in their address. They can find their early voting site, the hours, their election day site, and view a sample ballot. But in terms of the security, the process remains the same. The ballots fall into a double lock box. We keep them. There's a records and retention policy. We have the physical paper trail because these are physical ballots. They are secured with a bipartisan team of board staff. So the process is very secure.
Now we can vote for as many as 5 persons. Suppose there are not 5. What do you do?
Valerie, do you want to answer?
I'm trying to see who's gonna. You can do that with them.
Okay. So if there are 3 candidates, you can rank up to 3. You can rank 2, or you can still just vote for 1. There are many races where there are just 2 candidates, or 3, or just 4. Although we're in crowded primaries and specials across the city, it does vary. In some instances, there are races where there are just 2 candidates. It's elections as we currently know it before ranked choice voting. You pick one or the other.
No, I understand that you cannot vote twice or 3 times for a candidate, even though you have these 5 choices. Explain that to everyone.
So if a voter were to vote for one candidate, multiple candidates for a first choice, that would be an overvote, and the scanner would alert them. So they would be notified once they feed their ballot into the scanner that they in fact overvoted. Then they have the option to reject that ballot. The poll worker, there's procedures in place for the poll worker to void out that ballot, and they'll be given an opportunity to properly cast their ballot. But again, we wanted to echo that they can choose up to 5, but if a voter were to choose to vote for 2, 3, 4, any combination, as long as it doesn't exceed the 5, they can do that.
So the ballot is not invalidated. Is that what you're saying?
So the scanner will give you a message, an error message, and the message will say, you have overvoted in whatever contest. So let's say it's mayor. It will say that you overvoted in the contest of the mayor. Then there's an option on the screen to either accept that ballot, knowing that in that contest, your vote won't be counted because you overvoted, or you have an opportunity to reject it, and the scanner will spit it back out, and the poll worker will void it and give you another one.
Okay. I've been telling folks that. I just wanted to make sure it was 100% accurate.
Yes, you're right.
What kind of response have you been having from the electorate about this ranked choice voting?
So I will say that with the special elections, I can say, especially for the special elections, because we conducted them already, we found that the voters, at least the voters that I came into contact with going to these sites, found it to be simple. They were aware. Because we did direct mailing to all voters in advance of the election. We along with others like Rank the Vote, the Campaign Finance Board, and others have really been focused on public education to let voters know that this exists and how they can mark their ballot. And I did find that most voters found that the ballot itself was easy. So we're hoping that this will resonate and continue into the citywide election, and that voters too will find this an easy process.
Sam, I will say that we did a polling for all of the special elections in the city. And what we found is that 95% of voters found their ballot simple to complete. And a total of 75% of voters reported knowing about RCV before getting to the polling booth. And so that, or even casting their ballot, because we did contact folks that submitted absentee ballots. So that's really good for the time frame that we had to get the education out during the pandemic.
What provisions are there for the disabled to allow them to vote?
That's a great question. So at all of our early voting and election day sites, we have what is called a ballot marking device. And that is a device that was designed with a voter with disabilities in mind. And it has various accessibility components. So things like a Braille keypad, their headphones, so the names of the candidates could be read aloud to them. There is a sip and puff device, which is essentially a straw-like mechanism that allows a voter who lacks manual dexterity to go up and down the ballot and make their selections. What that does is it allows them to mark it independently and privately, and then they with the assistance of a poll worker, ultimately scan that ballot into the scanners, just like you and I would. In addition, if a voter were to request an absentee ballot, we have an accessible absentee ballot that we have available for voters with disabilities as well.
Are voters going to have to struggle to determine what their 5 will be? Or you don't anticipate this happening at all?
I don't think so personally, but Valerie, you can answer.
I don't think so either. I mean, in terms of we at the Board of Elections just conduct the election. So in terms of the awareness on the part of the candidates, that's a different operation where we are a bipartisan agency, and obviously we don't get involved in terms of any of the candidates themselves. But I do think that the voters are doing their due diligence. If they visit our website, vote.nyc, they will be able to put in their address and view their sample ballot. Our hope is that people avail themselves of this, so that way you can see what the ballot looks like, see the order of things. And when you walk into the poll site on election day, you already know what your ballot is going to look like. So that way it'll speed the line, the process, and just speak for, just to have an informed electorate in advance of entering the polls on election day.
I also think that this time around, we have so many different organizations who are a part of educating folks on how to find out more information about your candidates and where you can find out more information about your candidates. So that is, a tool that is just really beneficial to us this time around. So there are some orgs, I won't name them here, but you all can tag them if you want to. I just want to respect, the protocol here. But there are places that have this information. And alternatively, I know that Campaign Finance is sending out the voter guide, which is, I think, 60 pages or a little bit over that. And it has all of the details of all of the candidates. And that is supposed to be hitting mailboxes at the end of May, beginning of June, right before early voting. So you have time to look through these candidates.
I understand that you also have a video with lots of information in it. What is this video about? We're going to show the video, but tell us in a few short words what the video is about.
So really, the truth is what we've been focusing at the Board of Elections is this voter education. And because it's a new process, we welcome all of the community-based organizations, members of the media, and partners in government that have helped us spread the word. I think one of the successes of our public education campaign has been how probably for one of the first times ever where we have been so collaborative. So with Rank the Vote and with CFB, we're working together to make sure that our messaging is consistent. So I think that reinforcing that, and everywhere that voters get their information, whether it be from our materials or Debbie's materials or the Campaign Finance's materials, that it's that consistency. So I think that messaging will definitely help us. They can visit vote.nyc. We have a landing page focused on ranked choice voting. We have a public service announcement on our website in all covered languages. So for us, it's English, Spanish, Chinese, Korean, and Bengali. And we have that video available for them. And anyone else that wants to, we have found that videos have been helpful to voters just to understand the process.
There have been questions about absentee voting. Which of you would like to respond to that? Because people have those questions, and there's been so much in the news about absentee voting, both negative and positive. How would you clarify that?
So for New York, it's absentee voting, which is different than just vote by mail, that ballots are sent to voters. In New York State, you have to request an absentee ballot, or if you're a permanent absentee ballot voter, meaning you could be a senior, someone in a nursing home that is, or physically unable to get to the polls, and you are a permanent absentee. But anyone that chooses to exercise their vote from the privacy of their home, they can do so. We have a portal on our website, vote.nyc. You click on absentee ballot. You put in all your pertinent information, the name and address where you're registered. You can select the box temporary illness, COVID, as a reason why you're not going to the polls on election day, and we will send you your absentee ballot. And then you mark it, and you could either mail it or you can drop it off at any borough office, or during the 9 days of early voting, you can have someone drop it off in a ballot box that we have at each of the early voting sites, or on election day the same. We have ballot boxes at each of our poll sites where a voter doesn't have to wait in line. You could just drop it into the ballot bin.
So Valerie, I have a quick question. If a voter makes a mistake on the absentee ballot, what is the process for curing it? I know there are a few different ways where it could be an overvote or an invalidated ballot, but how does that work if you're a permanent absentee or just an absentee voter?
So if you make a mistake on your absentee ballot, on the physical ballot itself, there is no mechanism to fix it right there unless you request another one. Because if you make stray marks on the ballot, if you overvoted, there's really no mechanism for you to fix that other than to request another. If you make a mistake on the envelope, there's legislation that passed that allows a voter to cure their absentee ballot. So meaning if I mailed my absentee ballot and I didn't sign it, that would be a reason to invalidate it. Now, because of the legislation that passed, voters can cure their ballot, but on the physical ballot themselves, you would have to request another one. Either by visiting one of the borough offices where you reside, they can print it on demand, or if time permits, you can actually request another one on the portal.
So if I voted for Sam 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's an overvote.
If you voted for, I'm sorry, say it again.
Sam 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that's an overvote?
No, that's not an overvote. It would be only the overvote if you voted for Sam multiple down the line, or if you voted for Sam and you voted for Ed and on and so off and so forth during one down the line, then that's an overvote. But if you voted for one candidate in the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, that's not considered an overvote, but your first vote will count, your first ranking.
Oh, so there wouldn't be disqualification there.
No, but you essentially would not have a second candidate in round 2 because you already exhausted it in round 1.
In this electronic age, is there voting electronically or is only paper ballots?
It is only paper ballots. So that would take an act of the legislature to change.
And I understand that you have to score at least 50% of the total votes. Explain that.
50% plus one of the total votes in order to be declared the winner. And so in most instances, there will be a 50% plus one threshold. But where there isn't, whoever has the highest amount of votes is the winner. So if it's 48 or 49%, that person is the winner.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They tell me we're running out of time. So Valerie, let me give you a minute, and Debbie, let me give you a minute for anything that we have missed. Valerie, you go first.
I just want to say thank you, because these are exactly the type of things that we need to help educate the voters on ranked choice voting. The other thing that I want to stress is that, again, the ranking only relates to those contests: mayor, public advocate, controller, borough president, and city council. But there are other contests on the ballot that will use the traditional voting method. So we ask voters to go in, read the instructions on the ballot, take your time, and ask a poll worker if you have any questions.
Okay.
And I'll just say 1 vote, 1 column, 1 row. It is 1 vote. If your number 1 candidate is eliminated, that vote gets transferred to your second choice. So use your rankings appropriately. But if you also don't like someone or you don't know someone, do not rank them. Don't waste your rank. If you want to see someone elected who you know, then you use your rankings accordingly.
Thank you, Debbie Lewis. We see where you are from, right behind you. Rank the Vote NYC. I think
I need one of those.
I'm sorry?
I have to get one of those to say the Board of Elections.
Yes, and I won't want to put behind me. And Valerie, thank you so much for being our guest. And we will have in our lower thirds how people can reach you to be able to get information about ranked choice voting. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Raymond Trapp is Dean of the Brooklyn chapter of American Guild of Organists, and he is my guest to talk about his musical gifts and how he serves many churches and communities in Brooklyn. We'll be with him in a second. Raymond Trapp is the former dean of the Brooklyn chapter of the American Guild of Organists, and he's my guest to talk about his musical gifts and how he serves many churches and communities in Brooklyn. He's been described as a phenomenal musician and talent scout and creative artist. Raymond, welcome to Brooklyn 45.
Thank you, Professor Tate. How are you?
I am wonderful. It's good to see you again. It's been years.
It has. Good to see you too.
Okay. I'm sorry that we're not doing this program at an organ so that we could hear you play.
I agree.
We'll do that another time. But where are you playing these days?
I'm music director and organist at Vanderveer Park, United Methodist Church, in East Flatbush, right at Glenwood Road and 31st Street.
I've been hearing some amazing things about Vanderveer Church and what you've been doing there. Somebody tells me something about Creator of Evening in Blue. What is that?
Yes, Evening in Blue was a program I created about 12 years ago. And really the influence for it was I wanted to bring high quality jazz to a local area because I felt many people couldn't go to clubs like Dizzy's or the Blue Note. They can be costly. But I felt if we could bring that quality of music and musicians to the local church, they would attend. And that's how it started, and it's continued ever since.
What is your vision for music as a universal language?
My vision for music is a language that removes layers and brings people together in a very humanitarian type of way. It's also why I've never been a great supporter of contemporary and traditional worship because I feel it just creates another layer of division. I believe it's just worship, and I think music has the unique voice of speaking to people in various ways and meeting them at their point of need and bringing us together just through worship.
What would be your message, therefore, to young artists?
My message to young artists would be, don't work at becoming a perfectionist. Rather, become someone who practices excellence. That way, when the opportunities come and the doors open, you'll be prepared to walk through them.
Are you working with young musicians as well?
Definitely. And here at the church, we also have a program, a violin program that we receive funding for, where we take 6 students and they go through 2 years of violin lessons. And 2 of them have recently been accepted to schools that specialize in music.
And you know my question is going to be, do you play violin as well?
I wish, not at all. My daughter is a part of the program.
Okay, but you write music in addition to performing music. Tell us about some of the music that you write.
Yes, I'm actually working on a recording of original gospel music. Some by myself, most of them in collaborating with my group Image. And Image stands for Imperfect Me, Advertising God's Excellence. And so we are working on our first recording, and that will be composing and some arranging.
Okay, you said earlier that you have a preference for traditional music. Now, the music that you are writing, the gospel music, is that traditional gospel or is that somehow a mix with contemporary gospel?
It will definitely be a mix because I tend to listen to many genres. So I think organically that begins to happen in the writing. But I definitely look to put out a product that speaks to everyone. Our younger members, our more seasoned members, I think everyone will find something for themselves in it.
Raymond, how long have you been playing music?
Wow. To be honest, I'm probably a late bloomer. I've been playing over 30 years. I was introduced to music. I was born in Belize, Central America, actually, and introduced to music through the church. My grandmother was a part of church, and that's how it started.
What do you do now in addition to playing music at Vanderveer Park Methodist Church? Where else do you play?
I mainly play at Vanderveer. Sometimes I substitute at other churches. I do organ recitals. And I auditioned, was chosen as the musician for the General Conference of the United Methodist Church. So that would have happened last year, but due to COVID, so it's been pushed by, so I've been serving in that capacity. And what's awesome is that you connect with people from around the world, explore music in different languages. So that has been awesome.
I gather as we look back that you were a finalist in the McDonald's Music Festival.
Yes, some years ago when I was young.
You're still young. Come on.
I'll take the blessing. Yes, when McDonald's was doing that, which is a phenomenal program because it gave many local artists an opportunity to be heard and to meet other artists also.
What kind of organ is it that you play there?
A 3-manual Allen digital organ.
I'm sorry, what manual?
3-manual.
Oh, 3-manual. Okay.
Yes.
So it's pretty much similar to the pipe organ, the keyboard layout, similar to the pipe organ?
Yes, exactly the same in the pedal board, yes.
Okay. Have you been playing the pipe organ as well?
Definitely, and I have a few churches that are kind enough to allow me to come in and practice there just to maintain the feel of a large pipe organ or even a smaller pipe organ.
So I want to thank you for being on Brooklyn 45, and I look forward to hearing you play again. Next time we invite you, we have to do it in a way that we can see you and hear you playing as well.
It would be my pleasure. Thank you, Professor Tate.
And we invite those of you who have watched this program to partner with Brooklyn 45. You can do this in several ways. You can suggest topics you want us to provide information about. Go to our website, www.brooklyn45.com. Become a supporter. We are a 501c3 not-for-profit community television program. And when you support us, our communities benefit as well. And so do you. Remember, I said we are a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. So please support us and tell everyone you know on social media about Brooklyn 45. On behalf of Brooklyn 45 and our team, and Sam Tate.
Brooklyn 45 is a 501c3 not-for-profit, and we welcome your support. Check out our website, brooklyn45.com, and feel free to donate or share it with your friends and family. Have any comments or questions? Send them to our Facebook, facebook.com/Brooklyn45TV. If you have any questions or topics you think we should cover next, shoot me an email over at brooklyn45tv@gmail.com.